The other day I happened to mention on Facebook that I had a FrankenGarden. Here we have bok choy. Isn't it lovely? I love bok choy, but you can seldom find it around here. I have green onions, which are kind of hard, also known as scallions. I don't know about where you live, but here they're about 99 cents for a small bunch, and I feel much better if I can get 3 or 4 cuttings off of them before I have to throw it out. And celery. This is the biggest celery I've ever had. I don't have a lot of luck regenerating celery, but this time it's doing pretty good. Now, I call it FrankenGarden because I'm repurposing things that I've already grown or already used part of. This one with the bok choy, I cut off the end about 1 inch and stuck it in water, and I will be putting that in soil in the next couple of days. Probably the same with celery too. Again, I cut off about 1 inch of the bottom. The part I have the most difficult time giving up any to is the scallion. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. Here you have an intact scallion. I actually like the white part of the scallion, but that of course is the root end, so you have to leave that intact. So to create your own repurposed FrankenGarden, all you have to do is cut off, I usually cut off about 2 inches, basically so it'll fit into the jar and not sink when I water. And stick it in the water and you're done. I started this one probably about a week ago, and I've already eaten part of it. I cut part of this end off, so they do grow rapidly. This one I started just a couple of days ago, and this portion is the new growth. And so after it grows a little more, I will go and cut it off and eat it. Like I said, I'm probably going to put these in soil. You will notice, for instance, on the bok choy, it does get a little discolored, and this is a little mushy, but all I do is I just tear it off. You know, I don't know whether it's just because of the water that it gets that way or what, but I just tear it off and go from there. And it also happens with the celery. I know there are other things that you can regenerate too. Right off the top of my head, of course, I can't think. Romaine lettuce is one, though I've not tried that yet. Somebody did mention it on Facebook that they do romaine, so I'm going to try that. I like romaine a lot, and like, you know, the bok choy, it can be, and even the scallions for that matter, it can be pretty expensive. It's a little easier to find than bok choy, but I mean, if you can, you know, get 2 cuttings out of it even, it kind of makes it easier to spend the money on. Celery is another one that it's almost $3 a package. And while these aren't great, and I don't know how well it will do once I plant it in some dirt, but when I make stock, and I make a lot of stock or soups, I always use the leaves there, and I also dehydrated some leaves recently. There's a lot of flavor in the leaves, especially when they're this light color leaf. Something else that I've been doing, I've been making use of, I have 2 dehydrators, I'm greedy, and I've been making use of them. The other day, I was looking at some videos on YouTube, and there have been several where they have cooked and then dehydrated beans, dried beans, which I know probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But I decided to try it, and one of the things I did was I eat a lot of chili year-round, and I added my 3 favorite beans for my chili mix. I use pinto, light red kidney beans, and black beans. Cook them with a little bit of my, what I call my O chili mix, which is basically a medium heat, I'd say, chili spice mixture. And after they were cooked, I let them cool, and then I dehydrated them. Now, the hardest part about this was I, of course, had to test to make sure that they had fully dehydrated. So I actually ate some, and, you know, these make a really good snack, by the way. I've also been dehydrating kale because, well, kale chips are some of the best things in the world. And I also like throwing some kale in soups, especially broth-based soups, which brings me to my other soup concoction, bean concoction. Excuse me. I told you, I'm still new at this. This one is a simple bean soup. You start with cooked, I used Great Northerns because that's what I had on hand. I cooked them and then dehydrated them, along with some carrots and celery and leeks, and then more kale. Because when I make a bean soup, if I have kale, I almost always put kale on the top. Or throw it in at the end. If I don't have kale, I'll often use spinach. And I know a friend who uses lettuce, and that seems to work well too. I do use lettuce when I make my cheeseburger soup, but I've not made that in a long time, and frankly, I don't know if or when I'll be making it again. So the dehydrator has been getting a lot of use. So thanks for coming along. I'd appreciate a like, and please subscribe if you'd like, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Good night.